You solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in the matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Please state your first and your last name for the record.
Yes, my name is Shannon Velasco. It's Shannon. Velasco is V as in Victor, Elasco.
All right, you may inquire.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you're wearing a uniform?
Yes.
Where do you work?
I work for the Corona Police Department.
And what is your occupation specifically?
I am a police officer.
How long have you been a police officer?
I've been sworn for about 13 years now.
Okay. And the entire time for the Corona Police Department?
Yes.
All right, so I want to take you to September 18th, 2015. Okay. Now, I see that you're wearing a uniform. Looks like it's navy in color. Is that correct?
Yes.
See that you're wearing a badge on the front, and then you have patches on the sides. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you on duty on September 18th, 2015?
Yes.
And were you wearing a uniform?
Yes.
Were you wearing the same type of uniform that you're wearing here to court?
Similar. May have been short sleeve.
Short sleeve?
Possibly.
Okay. Was it a warm day?
Possibly in September, yes.
Okay. So, do you know what a briefing is?
Yes.
What's a briefing?
Briefing is something that we as police officers in patrol, that's the first thing that we will do before we go out into the field. So usually it's started off, or sometimes it's called roll call. Our sergeants are the ones that head it, and during briefing we talk about hot topics that are going on in the field. We talk about wanted flyers or possible wanted people.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, briefing or a roll call is basically something that you do like a little meeting at the very beginning of a shift?
Yes. And
that's where you're given certain information that might be pertinent for your patrol that day. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And on September 18th, what time did you start your shift?
I believed I worked day shift, so I would start work at 6 a.m.
6 in the morning.
Correct.
So what time would the roll call be?
We have about 15 minutes to get ready, so it should start about 6:15 a.m.
Okay. So you go to your roll call or this meeting, is that right?
Yes.
And at that meeting, were you given any information as to any type of vehicle or person to look for?
Yes.
And what information was relayed to you?
What was relayed to us was the night before, which would have been on September 17th, a homicide occurred in our city where a vehicle was stolen from one of the victims. And they gave us a description, which I remember was a white Ford Raptor that had a mesh tailgate. And I remember that because I had to ask what a Raptor was. And it also had stickers on it.
Okay. Now, at some point, did you see that Raptor during your shift?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's 165. Do you see that photograph?
Yes.
Do you see the truck in that photograph?
Yes.
Does it look familiar?
Yes.
And is that the truck that you saw during your shift?
Yes.
Okay, and we're going to talk about that in just 1 minute. You stated that you worked patrol on September 18th, 2015. Is that right?
Yes.
And as a patrol officer for the city of Corona, do you have a certain beat?
Yes.
Okay, and what's your beat?
At that time, then this was 5 years ago, I don't recall my beat, but I would imagine I was assigned to the south end because I was on a call at one of the intermediate schools. So that would be Zone 3.
Okay. And when you were patrolling, what type of vehicle were you in?
I was in a marked police car, so its colors are black and white. It has the red and blue lights on the roof and decal stickers that say Corona Police.
Okay, and I think I have a photo that we'll get into a little bit down the road. All right, so I'm actually going to go to my computer. I have a PowerPoint that I'd like to have you testify to, okay? For the record, Your Honor, this is People's Exhibit 179. All right, so you were on patrol. You testified on September 18, 2015. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think you told us that your shift started at 6 a.m.?
Yes.
And your roll call was at 6:15.
Yes.
You also stated that you were at a nearby intermediate school. Is that right?
Yes.
What intermediate school was that?
Citrus Intermediate School.
And do you see the map that's in front of you?
Yes. And may I make a correction? It's Citrus Hills Intermediate School.
That's fine. Citrus Hills. And I assume that's in the city of Corona.
Yes.
You see that map in front of you?
Yes.
Now, I don't believe it's labeled on the map, but if you can give the jury just kind of an idea of approximately where the location is.
There's in front of you next to the microphone stand, there's a laser, and if you could do it on the screen behind you.
On the screen, okay.
You need it enlarged?
Yeah, I don't see exactly where.
Do you know the cross streets?
Yes, so it's going to be South Main Street and Mountain Gate.
Okay.
So we need to go a little more south on the map.
Okay,
Just
so
cut off.
the furthest south that we have is basically Foothills, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would be further south of this street, which is Foothill.
Okay, fair enough. Now, were you told where the location of the murders were?
Yes, I don't remember exactly, but I know it was on the south end of the city.
Okay. Does Winthrop Drive sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. And, all right, so move on. All right, so at some point in time, were you contacted by an Officer Bikinis?
Yes.
And where were you and what time was that?
I believe this was about 9:40. It was around that time, 9:40 in the morning. And like I mentioned earlier, I was on a call for service at Citrus Hills Intermediate School. I had finished what I needed at the school. However, I needed to go back to the station, so I needed to go into the north end of the city. I was waiting to merge from the parking lot onto South Main Street. And at that time, I saw 4 vehicles traveling north.
Okay. So you said that you saw 4 vehicles?
Yes.
And did any one of them catch your attention?
Yes.
And I believe you said that this was about 9:40 in the morning?
Correct.
Okay. And were there 4 vehicles in front of you, or were they, on the side, both on the front and the side, or what?
I was trying to exit the parking lot, and so the exit turns onto Main Street, so I had to wait for these vehicles to pass the exit, if that makes sense, so I can merge onto Main Street.
Okay, and again, I don't believe Citrus Hills Intermediate School is on this map, but do you see I think it's close.
Yeah.
Will you show the jury approximately where Citrus Hills Intermediate School is?
Thank you. So this is Mountain Gate Park. It's going to be right in this general area.
So off to the right of the exhibit, looks like there's a word there that starts with CHIS.
Right.
And it's near that area?
Yes. And this right here is Main Street or South Main Street.
Okay. And so you were were you going onto Main Street?
Yes.
All right. And you said that you saw 4 vehicles,
yes.
Right? Did any one of them catch your attention?
Yes.
Which one was that?
I saw a white Ford truck that looked like it had a mesh tailgate. Is that right? Yeah, tailgate.
Okay. And why was that significant to you?
Because that matched the description of the vehicle that was stolen, that was related to the homicide that had occurred the night before. That is what we discussed in our briefing.
Okay. So with that information that you had, you saw a vehicle that was a potential match. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what did you do once you saw that vehicle?
Again, I had to ask what a Raptor was, so I didn't want to radio it out or put it on the radio right away. So my intention was to get closer to the vehicle to see if that's indeed what it was. So I stayed in the general area. However, the vehicle, I lost sight of it, and that's when Officer Bejinas radioed in that he was behind a vehicle that matched that description.
Okay. So you weren't sure initially when you saw that vehicle. Was it 4 vehicles in front of you?
Yes. So again, I'm waiting to merge onto Main Street from a parking lot, and I saw 4 vehicles pass me. So one of those vehicles stood out to me, and I had to wait for all 4 vehicles to pass me before I could safely merge into the street.
I understand. Was the potential Raptor, was that the first vehicle, second vehicle?
I don't remember what number line it would have been. It definitely wasn't the last one.
But it was far enough that there was at least one vehicle between you and it.
Definitely.
Okay. And not being familiar with a Raptor, you didn't know if that was a Raptor initially. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So I believe you said that you started to follow it, but then you lost sight of it?
Yes.
And you also stated that Officer Bejinas radioed at some point. Is that right?
Yes.
Approximately how long in time was it from the time that you lost sight of the Raptor to the time that Officer Bejinas contacted you?
It was a very short period. I would estimate no more than 5 minutes.
Okay. And did Officer Bejinas tell you the location in which he saw a white Ford Raptor?
Yes.
And what location was that?
That was in the area of Lincoln and Foothill.
Okay. And looking at this exhibit, do you see that depicted here?
Yes.
Now, as I zoom in, you can see that there's upper, which is southern part of Lincoln. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then it turns into Lincoln as one goes north on upper.
Correct.
All right. And is that the location that's depicted here on the map of where you were told the white Raptor was?
It was in that general area. I remember it specifically more at Lincoln and Foothill, which is a little more north.
So if you could show the jury.
Right here.
Okay. So as one goes north on Lincoln, it intersects with Foothill that travels east-west.
Yes.
And with that information, what did you do?
I drove to that area, and that's where I was. For me, I was right here at the intersection of Foothill and Lincoln. I was facing west. This is west over here. The vehicle was traveling north, so it would be going down here. And the vehicle, I remember it went onto Foothill, so that would be going east, which is that way. At that point, I saw Officer Bejinas' vehicle, which was an unmarked vehicle at the time, following it. So I made a U-turn, and I began to follow as well.
Moving on. You said that you picked up the Raptor on Lincoln as it turned into Foothill, is that correct?
Yes.
And then it was traveling eastbound on Foothill from Lincoln?
Yes.
All right. And then after you saw it go on to eastbound Foothill, where did it go?
The vehicle, I don't know if you can see it, but the vehicle turned into this small street. This goes, yes. I believe it's Kentfield, and this goes into a residential community. So the vehicle then goes south, and then it goes onto Miraflores, and it went west. So this would be going west.
All right. And what street was that?
I believe it's Kentfield.
Okay.
You want the small street?
Yes, the small street.
Yes.
If you could, I'm just asking because I'm sure the court reporter would appreciate the spelling.
K as in King, E-N-T-F-I-E-L-D.
All right. So now, as it turned, it went southbound onto Kentfield?
Correct.
And at this point, did you notice any illegal turns, maneuvers made by the Raptor?
No.
So when it turned onto that street, where did it go?
It's a very, very small street. So from there, it went west onto Miraflores Drive.
And where Miraflores Drive is, what type of zone is that?
This is a residential community.
Okay. And what's the speed limit in a residential community?
Typically 25 miles per hour.
So and at this point, was the Raptor speeding, doing anything illegal that you noticed?
No.
You said that it was now traveling westbound on Miraflores Drive?
Yes.
Where did it go after turning westbound and going westbound on Miraflores Drive?
If you can see the street turns, or there's a curve right here, and it turns onto Mountain Pass Drive. So the vehicle followed more or less the street, and we began to travel south onto Mountain Pass Drive.
And on Mountain Pass Drive, again, any illegal maneuvers, U-turns, speeding, running stop signs, any of that?
No.
And you were in your marked vehicle?
Yes.
How far behind were you from the Raptor?
I was at least one car length behind it. And at this point, I was directly behind the vehicle.
So there's no obstructions between you and the Raptor?
No.
On Miraflores Drive, Miraflores Drive, you said that it went south onto Mountain Pass Drive, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, and then once it was going on Mountain Pass Drive, where did it go?
Once we were on Mountain Pass, there was a stop sign, and I'm sorry, the cross street is escaping me, but the vehicle did come to a complete stop. The vehicle continued to travel southbound once we passed actually, let me back up. At the stop sign, that's when I was able to give our dispatch the license plate and confirm that that was a stolen vehicle. I had not initiated my overhead red and blue lights at this point. We continued to follow because we were waiting for additional units.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. Was it on Mountain Pass Drive that you got the confirmation from dispatch that was, in fact, the stolen Raptor?
Yes.
Okay. And you stated that when you received that information, you did not conduct a traffic stop. Is that correct?
Correct.
Will you explain to the jury why you decided not to do it at that time?
Yes. At this point, based on the nature of the crime, which again we're looking at a potential homicide suspect, I don't know who's in the vehicle. I don't know how many people are in the vehicle. At this point, I know that it's a stolen vehicle. We need to conduct a high-risk stop. And so with that, we need at least 2 marked units or Corona Police units. And at that time, I had Officer Bejinas, who was working in a undercover vehicle. So for officer safety, given the nature of the crime, again, the unknown of how many occupants we have in the vehicle, unknown if there are weapons in the vehicle, we want to have more officers to assist with that stop.
And besides Officer Behenis, who's, I believe you stated that he was behind you,
Correct.
Did you have a partner working with you that day?
No.
So it was just you and Officer Behenis, who's in an unmarked, is that correct?
Correct.
And again, did you know many details of the homicide from the day prior?
I wouldn't say I knew much about it.
Okay. So at this point, you didn't, were you given any description of a suspect?
Yes.
And what information did you get with regard to that?
From what I recall, the suspect was listed as a younger, in his early 20s, African American male adult.
Okay. Could you see how many occupants were inside the Raptor when you were following it?
Not when I was following it.
So you didn't know how many were in there?
Correct.
And you didn't know if and what type or how many weapons were in the vehicle as well?
Correct.
All right. So you said that you decided not to conduct a traffic stop. What did you do instead?
Once the confirmation was made that the vehicle was stolen, we requested additional marked units. And I still continue to follow the vehicle. At that time, while we were still on Mountain Pass, I noticed that the vehicle began to, it looked as if it was going to pull over to the side of the road. It pulled along the curb. However, the vehicle did not stop.
All right. So where did it go from Mountain Pass Drive?
Once I noticed that the vehicle started to turn, like it was going to yield to the side of the road, it was my perception, my belief that the driver knew I was following it. I was in a marked police vehicle. I didn't want to lose the car, so I did initiate my overhead lights. The vehicle then from Mountain Pass, so this is Mountain Pass right here, turned onto Bainbridge Circle. Now, Bainbridge Circle, it's a street that runs east and west. However, this is the extremmost west part of the street where it turns into a cul-de-sac. Okay.
And so it being a cul-de-sac, there's really only one way in and out from the cul-de-sac. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So, and when you stated that you turned on your overhead lights, where were you when you turned on your overhead lights?
I was between, it was after the stop sign. I don't know if you can zoom out.
I'll go back a slide.
Okay, so this is Mountain Pass right here. There's a street right here. So between this street and this is Bainbridge.
So before you reach the intersection of Bainbridge?
Yes.
All right. At some point, and did the vehicle yield when you turned on your overhead lights?
Not immediately.
Okay, and explain that.
So the lights were turned on or activated on Mountain Pass. The vehicle then entered into Bainbridge Circle, and it really just followed around the cul-de-sac before it stopped at in front of a two-story residence at 1066 Bainbridge Circle.
Which is depicted on this slide.
Yes.
Was the vehicle, when it stopped, were you now behind the vehicle, or were you facing the vehicle, or something different?
I believe I was more or less behind it, because what I remember is I didn't initially follow him, the vehicle into the cul-de-sac, and when the vehicle had rounded the cul-de-sac, I was able to see the driver of the vehicle because the window was rolled halfway down.
Okay. And when you saw the driver of the vehicle, what did that driver look like?
I saw that it was an African-American male adult. He looked to be young. I would say in his early 20s. And I do remember he was wearing a baseball cap that was green and yellow in color.
Okay. Did the Raptor, in fact, pass you as you saw the driver?
Yes.
Okay. And then after the Raptor passed you, did you make a U-turn?
I didn't make a U-turn. I went into the cul-de-sac as well. But I just remember that I had waited because I didn't know what he was going to do. And there was such a small amount of space in that street.
Okay. But at some point, did the Raptor stop?
Yes.
And when it stopped, where was your vehicle positioned?
I believe my vehicle was positioned behind him.
Directly behind it or off to one of the sides?
Probably more off to the side. That's what we're trained to do.
Okay. On the driver's side or passenger side of his vehicle?
Driver's side.
When his vehicle stopped, did you stop your vehicle?
Yes.
Approximately how far away was your vehicle to the Raptor in terms of car length?
I don't remember at this point, but I would estimate just general practice, I wouldn't be more than one car length.
You would not be more
or we wouldn't, I can't think of the word, I'm sorry. There would be at least one car length between us. I would not be right up on their bumper.
And why is that?
That's for, again, officer safety issues. Again, I could see one driver, but I couldn't see if there was anyone else in the back of the truck. And again, I don't know if this person has weapons, so it's for officer safety tactics.
At this point, are your overhead lights still on?
I believe they were.
Okay. Now, the Raptor stopped and then you stopped. Did anybody get out of their vehicle?
I got out of my vehicle.
Okay, and tell us about that.
I got out of my vehicle and I stood behind the driver door. I used the door for protection just in the event that somebody came out and honestly was going to shoot at us. That's my normal tactic, is to stand behind the door for protection.
Okay. Was this a felony stop at this point, or were you just waiting, or what?
Yes. At this point, it had turned into a felony stop as we were still waiting for additional units to arrive.
And you said we. Is that meaning you and Officer Behines?
Yes.
And when you stopped, where was Officer Behines?
I believe Officer Behines was either to the right side of me or a little bit more behind me.
Do you know if he got out of his vehicle?
I do remember he got out of his vehicle.
Okay. Do you have any weapons drawn at this point?
Yes.
And why is that?
Again, this is considered a high-risk stop. We don't know, again, the driver, if they are armed, if they want to hurt us. I did have my gun pointed at the vehicle.
You stated that you noticed that the driver's window was halfway rolled down. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you giving any commands to the driver of that vehicle?
Yes.
What commands?
I yelled at him to put his hands outside the window, and in case he couldn't hear me, I also used my PA system that's inside our vehicle to put his hands out the window.
Okay, and what's a PA system?
A public announcement system.
Okay, and is that basically like a microphone that, with a speaker that basically enhances the sound?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that the Raptor was no more than one car length, or no less than one car length in front of your vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes. Was
Officer Behines also giving any commands?
I don't remember, but I would imagine he would.
Okay. But as of right now, you don't recall?
As of right now, I don't remember.
All right, that's fine. What commands are you giving to the driver?
As of right now, what I remember was telling him to put his hands outside the vehicle.
Okay. And did the driver comply?
Yes.
And meaning that he put both hands outside of the window?
Yes.
Was the door, I imagine the door was still closed?
Yes, of the driver's truck, yes.
Yes, his driver's side door was closed, is that correct?
Correct.
So he's putting him outside the open window?
Correct.
And at this point, with the driver complying with your commands, what are you doing?
What was I doing?
Right.
At that point, we were still waiting for additional units. Very within minutes, I would guess. another officer arrived on scene.
So within a short amount of time, you're there. Let me back up. You're there conducting the felony stop alongside Officer Behinas. Is that correct?
Yes.
You give commands to have the driver put his hands out. He complies, and now you're waiting.
Yes.
Why are you waiting? Why don't you just go up and arrest him or detain him?
Again, it's a high-risk stop. So with high risk, it's dangerous. Again, I don't know how many people are truly inside the vehicle, so we needed to get a few more officers there to assist with these stops. Typically, with a high-risk stop, we have one officer that's going to give the commands, and then we try to assemble an arrest team. So they would be the ones to apprehend the suspect.
All right. You stated that within a short amount of time, additional units arrived. Is that correct?
Yes.
One or more units?
It was one.
One. Okay. And where was that unit when you saw it come to Bainbridge?
That unit was, I remember him being parked in this area, so on Mountain Path and Bainbridge Circle.
Okay, so it didn't actually come up in front of the Raptor, like directly in front of the Raptor?
No.
And is that common practice to have another patrol vehicle just shortly down the roadway at the intersection?
No, ideally they would want to be behind our vehicle, but given the size or the layout of the street, that was just the best option for him. Okay.
And let's assume that the patrol vehicle decided to turn onto Bainbridge and then past the Raptor. Would that be potentially a dangerous idea?
Yes.
Why is that?
Again, we don't know who we're dealing with. We don't know what's in the vehicle. We don't know if there's weapons in there. We don't know if this person wants to hurt us.
So you don't want to get too close to the suspect, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So at this point, you see the other marked, was it a marked unit?
Yes, it was.
And do you recall if it had its overhead lights on at that time?
At this time, no, I don't.
Okay. Now that you have an additional unit there, do you now go up and detain the subject?
No.
Why is that?
Again, we haven't quite set up, if you will. We're not going to walk up to a vehicle on a high-risk stop. That's not how we're trained. The way we're trained is we're going to call the person back to us. Okay.
And did you do that?
No.
Why is that?
We didn't have the opportunity to.
And why is that?
As we were still set up, I saw the driver's hands tuck back into the truck, and the truck then set off.
Okay. So at this point, the subject disengaged his, he was no longer complying with your commands. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you said that the truck left the scene?
Yes.
And will you describe to the jury the manner in which that truck left?
Yes, I remember it leaving at a high rate of speed. That was concerning for me, given we're in a residential community, given the hour. I'm familiar with that area, that there's people that go out, pedestrians, if you will, who walk their dogs, who take their kids for walks. Also, we're in close proximity to an elementary school.
All right, so let's first talk about the residential zone here. You mentioned that was 25 miles per hour.
Yes.
And I imagine you didn't have your radar gun out at the time?
No, I don't have a radar gun.
Okay. But could you estimate could you tell the jury whether, in your estimation, in your lay opinion, whether the truck, when it left the scene, was going faster than 25 miles per hour?
Yes, I can say that I believe that it was going faster than 25 miles per hour.
And much faster to cause you concern?
Absolutely.
When it left, could you hear it peel out or anything like that?
At this point, I don't remember.
All right. And you said that this was a residential zone, right? So are there houses both on the left and right side of the street?
Yes, all around us.
And you said that you were also concerned about the hour of the day.
Yes.
You mentioned that you initially saw the vehicle, the Raptor, at approximately 9:40 a.m.
Yes.
What time are we at now, approximately?
I really don't recall. This all happened within a short amount of time.
Let me ask it in an easier way. At some point, the subject was detained, correct?
On a traffic stop.
Correct.
Yes.
All right. So from the time that you saw the Raptor to the time that the subject was detained, would you say that was less than an hour?
Yes, absolutely.
Less than 30 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Less than 15 minutes?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. So now the Raptor left at a high rate of speed. Which direction did it go?
So it's on Bainbridge. Again, this is a street that runs east and west. This is west. The vehicle traveled eastbound.
Okay. And for the record, you were pointing eastbound on Bainbridge.
Yes.
All right. So now that the vehicle is going eastbound on Bainbridge, you mentioned that there was one traffic violation so far, which was the high rate of speed in the residential area. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Were there any other violations that you noticed after that?
Yes.
What was that?
After this, there were stop signs, about 4 stop signs that were...
Okay. Let's talk about the first stop sign.
Okay. I believe the first stop sign, from what I recall, is actually over here at Hanover and Miraflores.
Okay. And so as the Raptor was going eastbound on Bainbridge, it turned onto Hanover?
Correct.
And which direction on Hanover?
So Hanover runs north and south. This would be south. The vehicle went northbound.
And as it was going northbound, you stated that it failed a stop sign. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which stop sign was that?
This is a stop sign right here on Hanover and Miraflores. Right there.
And it went now eastbound on Miraflores?
Correct.
Okay.
So it would be going in this direction.
So as the Raptor was turning onto Miraflores, it failed to stop at the stop sign?
Correct.
Now, after it was on Miraflores, where did it go?
It continued to travel east on Miraflores, and it came to another stop sign intersection. I believe it's Andalus.
And do you see where that intersection is?
It would be right here. So the vehicle did not stop for this stop sign and continued to go east towards Rowena Drive.
So what is that? What's the street?
I believe it's Andalus.
Can you spell that for the reporter?
To spell it accurately, I'd have to look at my report.
If it would assist you.
Okay, so it's going to be A as in Adam, N-D-A-L-U-Z way.
And that's the street, for the record, that intersects on Miraflores just west of Rowena Drive. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you stated that when the Raptor left Bainbridge, it was going at a high rate of speed. Was it still going at a high rate of speed on Hanover Street and also on Miraflores Drive?
I would estimate it was still going faster than 25 miles per hour.
Now, are we saying, like, in your estimation, is it 1 or 2 miles over the speed limit?
I don't recall. Okay. I just know it was going faster than 25 miles per hour.
Let me ask it a different way. If you knew nothing about this Raptor and you were positioned yourself on Miraflores Drive and you saw the Raptor pass or drive at that speed, would you pull it over?
Yes,
For what?
for speeding in a residential area,
Okay, and you'd give the driver a ticket?
possibly.
Depending on how nice they were to you, right?
Right.
All right. So now the Raptor turns southbound onto Rowena Drive?
Correct.
All right. And is there any stop signs or anything on as it turns onto Rowena Drive?
Now, as you can see, the street curves right here, so there's no stop sign, but on Naples, there is a stop sign, so Rowena and Naples.
Okay. And did the driver yield to that stop sign?
No.
Where did the truck go on Rowena? Did it pass Naples?
Once it approached the intersection of Rowena and Naples, I remember the vehicle slowed. It went to the side, so I thought, well, maybe the vehicle's going to yield, and then it made kind of a sharp turn where I thought, well, maybe the vehicle's now going to make a U-turn. However, the vehicle corrected itself and continued to travel southbound on Rowena to Mountain Gate.
All right. And will you kind of show with your laser pointer, and I'll try to make a record after you do that, just to indicate what you just testified to for the jury?
Right. So I'm following the vehicle that's going south. We're approaching this intersection right here where the vehicle starts to go to the side of the road like it's going to pull over, but it doesn't, and then it starts to show like it's going to make a possible U-turn right here. However, the vehicle corrects itself and then continues to go south to this is Mountain Gate right here.
All right. So for the record, what you pointed for the jury was the Raptor was going southbound on Rowena Drive. As it approached Naples Drive, it looked to you that it was possibly going to turn right onto Naples Drive. However, it didn't, and it curved even more, indicating to you that was going to make a U-turn and go back north up Rowena Drive, but instead it turned again to go southbound on Rowena Drive towards Mountain Gate.
Yes.
All right. All right, so now, and it failed to stop at that intersection, is that correct?
Yes.
And there was a stop sign there?
Yes.
So now as it goes towards Mountain Gate Drive, is it still going at a high rate of speed?
Yes.
So as such that if you just saw this independently, not knowing anything else, you would pull over the Raptor?
Yes.
When, as it was approaching Mountain Gate Drive, did you do anything to try to force the vehicle to yield?
Yes.
What was that?
Trying to see in here. So this is Mountain Gate Drive in Rowena, and right over here is Mountain Gate Park. It's a pretty big park. It does have 2 parking lots, and in this general area, there's a parking lot. So I'm estimating between, right in this general area, I received authorization from my field sergeant at the time, Sergeant Perez, to go ahead and use the pit maneuver.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. So first off, will you show the jury where, well, let me ask you, let's back up. The Raptor went onto Mountain Gate Drive going eastbound, is that correct?
Yes.
Towards Mountain Gate Park. And will you show the jury where Mountain Gate Park is?
This green area.
Is the truck now on Mountain Gate Drive, is it going faster, slower, the same speed?
I really don't remember. I just know that it was a vehicle trying to get away from me.
Okay. Still at a high rate of speed?
Still traveling at a speed to get away from me.
Okay. When, now that you're on Mountain Gate Drive, approximately how far behind are you from the truck?
That I don't recall.
All right.
I know that I wasn't directly on their bumper.
You stated that your overhead lights were on when you pulled over the vehicle back on Bainbridge. Recall that?
Yes.
At some point, did you either notice or did somebody tell you that your overhead lights had turned off?
Yes.
And where were you when you received that notification?
Back off the Bainbridge in Hanover, that general area, I was notified that my red and overhead lights were not on.
Okay. So going back, if you can show us approximately the location where you learned that your overhead lights had turned off.
This right here is Bainbridge and Hanover. So in this general area.
Okay. And when you had learned that, what did you do?
I played with the toggle switch, which, well, I'm putting my hand up here, but that's where the switches are to turn on the lights or activate the lights. So I messed around with it, and they were, from my knowledge from the other officers, they were turned on.
Okay. So you're told that your overhead lights are off, and I think many of us have not been in a police car before. So is the switch to turn on the overhead lights right above your head?
In that particular vehicle, yes.
Okay. And so you switch it a couple of times, and then you're told that they went back on?
Yes.
So they're now activated?
Correct.
All right. What about your siren? Did you engage a siren at any point?
Prior to when I was notified that the lights weren't on, I don't know if the siren was on, but once I had turned the lights on or fixed the problem, I remember hearing a siren.
Your siren?
I remember hearing a siren. I believe it's mine, but at that time, there's a lot going on and there's other...
And you're not the only one following the Raptors, is that correct?
Correct.
So at any rate, whether it's your siren, you heard sirens?
Yes.
All right, so now going back to Mountain Gate Drive, your overhead lights are on and at least a siren is activated, correct? Yes. You also stated that you contacted, was it your watch commander or sergeant? Or?
I did not contact them. He, on the radio, was aware of what was going on and authorized the pit maneuvers.
Oh, okay, so you don't have to request the pit maneuver, is that right?
Typically, we would request it. I had not requested it. The supervisor was monitoring the radio traffic, and he authorized that.
Okay. And so we've said pit maneuver a few times. What is a pit maneuver?
The pit maneuver is a pursuit intervention technique. The idea is to intentionally make contact with the suspect vehicle at a slow speed to either have the vehicle spin around and ideally terminate the pursuit.
And how, do you have to have any sort of training to be able to conduct a pit maneuver?
Yes.
What type of training did you receive?
I received certification after attending pit school, if you will.
So there's an actual school that you went to called pit school?
I don't know the actual technical name, but yes.
But it's a program in which you learn how to do pit maneuvers.
Correct.
And do you go to like a big parking lot and then have somebody in a car that you're following and try to conduct pit maneuvers, or?
Yes, we do that. The one that I went to specifically is at the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department at their academy, and it's a large parking lot, if you will, where there's different maneuvers that are practiced. They have a mock pursuit. We have an instructor that is with us the entire time to teach us, and there's also a classroom portion of it.
Now, why do you need authorization to conduct a pit maneuver? Why don't you just go up and try it yourself?
That's what our policy is. So number one, and number two, if we're in a situation where we need to implement or try and utilize the pit maneuver, again, this is going to be a high-risk stop. So we would like other officers to know, our supervisors would appreciate to know what we're doing because of the high-risk portion and liability involved.
Well, let me ask you a different way. If you were in a school zone, would you conduct a pit maneuver?
That would depend on the time of day, is school in session.
Let's say that there's kids walking to school and there's all sorts of walking traffic.
No, that wouldn't be safe.
Why not?
That wouldn't be safe because if we were successful and the vehicle did spin out, there's a potential that a pedestrian could be hit. That's not our intention with it. We're not trying to hurt other people.
But on Mountain Gate Drive, you were given authorization to conduct a pit maneuver. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you stated that it's a intervention technique to try to disable the vehicle in which you're pursuing.
Yes.
And what do you do specifically to try to when you conduct a pit maneuver?
Ideally, what we'd like to do is use the front portion of our vehicle, and we're going to match up our vehicle with the rear bumper or that general area of the suspect vehicle that we're pursuing. Once we've made contact, we're going to accelerate a little bit and then back off, and that should make the vehicle spin or terminate at that point.
Okay. So the way that you explained it is your vehicle comes in contact with the vehicle in which you're pursuing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, you said the front of your vehicle. Is it the driver's side, the front middle, or is it the passenger side that comes in contact with the other vehicle?
It just depends on the situation, really. But ideally, I mean, I could use the front right, which would be the passenger side, if I'm coming up on the suspect vehicle's left side, or vice versa on the other side. So wherever we have the opportunity. But I think you said in the middle, or something about the middle.
Well, I just asked you, or is it the middle, or what?
No, we wouldn't use the middle. We're going to go on the sides of the vehicle.
And so what you're trying to do is create contact and redirect the rear of the vehicle in which you're pursuing.
Yes.
All right. And if it's done successfully, then the vehicle will disable?
It should, yes.
Okay, and meaning that it will stop?
It should, yes.
Okay. So now you were given this pit maneuver authorization. Did you attempt to pit stop the Raptor?
Yes.
Where did you try to pit stop the Raptor?
I attempted to stop it prior to exiting the parking lot of Mountain Gate Park.
All right. So now you're going eastbound on Mountain Gate. There's Mountain Gate Park. Did the Raptor, in fact, turn into the parking lot of Mountain Gate?
Yes.
And if I zoom in, try to zoom in, do you see, will you show the jury where Mountain Gate Park is?
Yes, it's going to be the green area right over here.
And do you see the parking lot?
Yes, it should be this general area.
Okay, so where there's a kind of an amber circle with a red X in it in the park, that's the parking lot?
Yes.
And is that where you tried to conduct a pit maneuver?
Yes.
In your opinion, was that kind of an ideal place to attempt to do that?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because the parking lot wasn't full. It gave us enough space in case the vehicle did spin out. And I don't recall seeing any pedestrians on the sidewalk or in a close vicinity where anyone else could have been hurt.
Were you successful in that pit attempt?
No.
What happened?
I made contact with the vehicle at about 30 miles per hour, and
sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
My vehicle made contact with the Ford vehicle. I believe it was about 30 miles per hour when I attempted this. The vehicle did not spin out, but I do remember seeing the bed of the truck rock back and forth. Okay, and again, the Raptor was not stopping. Is that correct? Correct. And your overhead lights and at least a siren from either your vehicle or another vehicle is still blaring. Correct. Where did the Raptor go after that pit attempt? The vehicle then went straight across into another residential area. So this is going to be a Panther Drive right here. Okay. And as depicted in the slide, it was going Panther
goes north and then kind of doglegs into westbound. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was the Raptor still going at a high rate of speed?
Yes.
And were you still the first one in pursuit of it?
Yes.
Did you attempt to do any other pit maneuver techniques?
Yes.
Where was that?
It was in the area of Panther and Cheetah.
Is that depicted on this map as well?
Yes. So right in this general area.
All right. Well, can you tell us about this second pit attempt?
Yes. I felt that, as you can see, the street curves. Sorry. The street curves right here. So that gave a little bit more room than, as opposed to the street where it's a little more narrow right here. Again, I felt that that would be more of an ideal or safe area to conduct a pit.
Okay. And explain to the jury what happened.
Again, my vehicle made contact with the Ford at about 29 miles per hour. I attempted the pit maneuver, but I was unsuccessful.
What part of the Raptor did you come in contact with?
The front portion of my vehicle came in contact with the rear portion of the truck.
So directly in front, or
on the side.
Would it be your front passenger side or driver's side?
I really don't recall the exact without looking at my report.
Okay, that's fine. At any rate, you attempted and it was not successful, correct?
Correct.
Where did the Raptor go after the second pit attempt?
So the vehicle continued onto Cheetah, and it came into this general area, which is Key West. So this would be going north.
Any other vehicle code violations that the driver of the Raptor violated? From the last one I think you talked about was the failure to stop at Naples and Rowena Drive.
Yes.
Any others?
Yes.
What's the next one in order?
There's a stop sign right over here at Key West and High Grove, and the vehicle failed to stop at that stop sign.
Okay. What about Mountain Gate and Panther? Actually, I don't know this. Is there a stop sign to go onto Panther?
Not that I recall. Are you referring to exiting the parking lot?
Correct.
I don't recall.
All right. But all right. But the next one that you recall is on Cheetah and Key West?
Yes.
All right. And did the Raptor fail to stop at that stop sign?
Yes.
After the Key West, after it went on to Key West, where did the Raptor go?
The Raptor then went north on High Grove. So this is High Grove right here. And approached the intersection of Foothill and High Grove, where there's a stoplight intersection.
Any stop signs on Key West that it failed to stop at?
Yeah, so I can't see that well on that screen.
Here, let me.
Okay, so in this area, I believe there is a stop sign. So this is Cheetah. You can turn onto Key West right here, which is a small street that will take you out into High Grove. High Grove is a street that is that will take you to the main road.
So there's a stop sign at Cheetah and Key West Drive, is that correct?
Yes, right here.
Oh, what about Cheetah and Key West?
Cheetah and what?
And Key West.
I believe it's right in this general area.
Oh, okay, so there's only one stop sign there?
Yes.
Okay, my confusion, sorry. All right, so it failed to stop at that stop sign and went north, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so now you said that it was traveling on High Grove Street, and tell us about that area.
Again, High Grove Street, as you can see on the map, we're in a residential area. So a lot of these smaller streets are what you're going to see in your typical residential neighborhoods. High Grove, however, is a main street, if you will, that will lead you out onto streets, intersections of heavy traffic. So High Grove led us to, again, the intersection of Foothill. I can't see it on there.
Okay. If one were to go north.
Right here. This is the intersection right here of High Grove and Foothill.
Okay, so what you're pointing to is the southern portion of the map, High Grove and Foothill, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And at High Grove and Foothill, is there a traffic stop sign or light or something different? It's
a stoplight intersection.
And as the Raptor was approaching that intersection, what color was the light?
It was red.
Did the Raptor stop for the red stop light?
No.
What did the Raptor do?
It continued to go through the intersection.
So it blew the light?
Yes.
Did it, was there traffic on Foothill?
Yes.
And Foothill, describe Foothill. Like, what type of street is that?
Foothill is a main street. It's a heavily used street, especially for commuters. If you're familiar with Corona, that street runs east and west, and it connects to the 15 freeway. And it will also, if you continue at the furthest west point, will connect to the 91 freeway.
And is it just one lane in each direction, or is it more than one lane?
Multiple lanes in each direction.
And so, as the Raptor blew that red light, you said that there was traffic on Foothill, is that correct?
Yes.
Were there any near collisions?
Yes.
Explain that.
Once the vehicle cleared the intersection, and it was continuing north on High Grove, the vehicle veered into opposing lanes of traffic and nearly collided into two vehicles.
Into two?
Two vehicles.
Moving vehicles?
Yes.
Which direction were those vehicles traveling?
The truck was traveling north, so those vehicles would have been traveling south.
Okay. And if you can show the jury approximately where the near collision was. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom in for you.
So again, right here, this is the intersection. We are traveling north, and it was going to be in this general area right here.
So just north of the Foothill High Grove intersection?
Yes.
So on this slide, the amber circle with the X in it depicts the stop sign, or I'm sorry, the red light that the Raptor violated. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then avoided the collision with cars as it went northbound on High Grove. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was there any additional pit maneuver attempts?
Yes.
Where was that?
The vehicle returned from the opposing lanes of traffic into the correct direction of travel. And so it was in the area of High Grove and Buena Vista, which is, I believe, right here.
High Grove and Buena Vista is where...
Yes, thank you. High Grove and Buena Vista.
And where you tried your third pit attempt, is that correct?
I believe it's the fourth one.
Fourth one. Where was your third one?
We had the first one at the park at Mountain Gate Park, Cheetah, and Panther. And then again, it was where you talked about the stop sign violation at Key West and High Grove.
So Key West and High Grove. Okay. So going back a couple of slides, was it before or after the stop sign violation?
I believe it was before.
Okay. And tell us about that one.
Again, the front of my vehicle, and I'm sorry I don't recall if it was which side of it, but it made contact with the rear portion of the truck, and I know that one was at about 37 miles per hour.
Okay. Again, not successful?
No.
The fourth pit attempt was at High Grove and Buena Vista, is that correct?
Yes.
And was that fourth one successful?
Somewhat.
Explain that.
Again, I made contact with the vehicle. I did not document the speed at that time, but I was able to push the vehicle where the vehicle was traveling west, and I remember the vehicle turning where it faced now north, or in the north position.
Okay. And do you see this photograph in the upper right portion of the slide?
Yes.
And does that look familiar?
Yes.
What is that?
That is a police vehicle into the vehicle that we were pursuing.
Okay. And do you know if that was your unit?
I don't believe that was mine.
Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is the location and how the Raptor appeared when it finally came to a full stop.
Yes.
All right. When the Raptor was going northbound on High Grove, was it going at a high rate of speed?
Yes.
In your opinion, was it violating vehicle code section for speeding?
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to show you People's 109. Were there, how many other vehicles, patrol units were in pursuit approximately?
With me, it was a total of 3. That was myself, Officer Driley, and Officer Penis.
Okay. So in the photograph I'm showing you, People's 109, do you see that?
Yes.
And which patrol vehicle do you see there next to the Raptor?
I believe that's Officer Driley's.
Okay, and explain that.
After I attempted the last pit maneuver where the vehicle again did turn, Officer Driley was behind me. He came around to my right side and he rammed the vehicle.
Okay, and in the fashion or basically what you see here in the photograph?
Yes.
So when Officer Driley rammed the Raptor stopped?
Yes.
And then Officer Beheeny's patrol vehicle stopped?
I don't know where Officer Behenis went.
His patrol vehicle stopped?
Oh, Officer Driley's patrol
I'm
vehicle?
sorry, Driley.
Yes, his vehicle stopped.
Yes, okay. Showing you People's 111. Does that look like the position in which Officer Driley's patrol vehicle and the Raptor were when they both finally came to a full stop?
I honestly don't recall because I was able to drive around the vehicle and Officer Driley remained there.
Okay. So did you stay at that location?
I stayed in the general location.
Okay. And you saw Officer Driley's vehicle stopped, is that correct?
Yes.
And you saw the Raptor stopped?
Yes.
Does this photograph resemble the position of those two vehicles?
Yes, Officer Driley and the suspect vehicle.
All right. You said that you went around and then you parked somewhere else, is that right?
Yes.
All right. When you came out of your vehicle, did you now conduct did you detain the driver?
No.
Why not?
Because after Officer Driley collided, or he rammed the vehicle, I should say, I saw the driver of the vehicle jump out and run northbound onto Buena Vista, which is why I drove around and tried to pursue in the vehicle.
You tried to pursue, I'm sorry?
I tried to pursue the suspect running in my vehicle.
I see. So you saw the suspect now, after the Raptor was stopped, run out of the driver's side?
Yes.
And then on foot, obviously.
Yes.
And so now you're driving and trying to pursue that suspect, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you successful?
No.
Why not?
He was very fast. And he then ran into a backyard, jumped the fence, and I believe the address is 2765 South Buena Vista.
So he went to a residence, is that correct?
In the backyard of a residence, yes.
Okay. And did you get out and pursue him anymore?
I did get out, but again, he was too fast for me.
So what did you do?
At that point, I remained in that area because I knew, listening to the radio traffic, there were multiple officers in that general area, and I believe we were setting up a perimeter.
Okay. So from what you understand, I believe you already said that your supervision's monitoring what's going on during this pursuit.
Yes.
And so they know where you are and where the pit maneuvers are and where the collision was with Officer Driley's vehicle and the Raptor. Is that correct?
Yes.
So they basically are setting up a perimeter around that area.
A perimeter was set up, but I don't remember who took responsibility to do that.
Okay, but the question is just more simple. There was a perimeter set up, though.
Yes.
All right. Now, did you go back to the scene of the collision at some point?
At this point, I don't, but I want to say that I did.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Let me try to jog your memory. At any point in time, do you remember seeing a dog?
Yes.
Okay. Where? Tell us about that.
I remember seeing a little white dog, cute little white dog, that actually jumped out, I want to say, when the driver jumped out of the vehicle. Again, I remained in the general area because at this point I'm on perimeter. I could see the intersection where the collision occurred, and I could see that the dog more or less remained with the vehicle and kind of camped out underneath the vehicle.
All right. Thank you. Nothing further. Cross?
About 10 minutes. Take a break now.
Let's go ahead and finish the cross so we can get the witness done.
You first saw the Raptor where? What streets were you on?
Again, I was exiting Citrus Hills Intermediate, and to turn out of the parking lot, you would be turning onto Main Street, South Main Street.
And you lost sight of it for a bit, and then Officer Vigines had found it, and you picked it up again at Lincoln. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you eventually, in following the vehicle, you got off of Lincoln, and you ended up in the residential neighborhoods that you saw on the maps there. Is that right?
Yes.
And at this point, your lights are not on. Your overhead lights are not on, correct?
At which point?
Oh, I'm sorry. As you exit Lincoln and get into the residential neighborhood.
Correct.
So I have a vision of the truck driving down this residential street with basically, this is a development, right, of tract homes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Closely spaced together?
Sure.
Okay. And he's driving down the street, and you're about a car length behind. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's about 9:45 before 10 o'clock in the morning. Is that right?
Yes.
And you're the only two cars on this street. Is that right?
I would say moving vehicles. I don't remember if there's parked vehicles.
Thank you for clearing that up. You're the only two moving vehicles going down this street?
I'm sorry, just for clarification, two vehicles, myself and Officer Vigines, or with the Ford?
You've got the Raptor in front of you, correct?
Yes.
You're a car length behind the Raptor, is that correct?
Yes.
And is Officer Vigines behind you?
Yes.
Okay, so now I have a picture of three cars going down the street. We have the white truck, your marked vehicle, and then an unmarked police car. Is that correct?
Yes.
And are you three the only three moving down these residential streets prior to putting your lights on?
I'm sorry, the last
Prior
part?
to putting your lights on, you three are the only moving vehicles going through these residential streets?
From what I remember, yes.
I'm sorry?
From what I recall, yes.
Okay. Did you notice, and I take it in your career, there have been times when you have been behind cars before putting their lights on, and you get a sense that the person in front of you knows you're behind. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Did you get that sense?
Yes.
Okay. What made you think that the person in front of you knew you were behind them?
Because after we went through the first stop sign,
Right.
where we stopped, it was after that that the vehicle had started to pull over
Sure.
to the side of the road.
Okay. And then where in this trek did you put your lights on?
It was after that because, again, it was my belief that the driver knew that I was behind them.
Okay.
And so I felt forced at that point to turn on the lights.
And at this point, you know your lights are working. Is that correct?
Yes.
How is it that you know your lights are working?
The vehicle, I remember turning, and again, I'm sorry, I'm a hand talker. So I remember switching the toggle lights on.
Right.
And the vehicle seemed to respond at some point when, although we were on Bainbridge Circle, he yielded.
Okay. So when you're in the car during the day and you turn the lights on, can you see the lights during the day?
Me personally?
Yes.
That's a good question. I'm going to say no right now.
Okay. Because you said at some point somebody had to tell you, by the way, your lights aren't working. Is that right?
Yes.
But and I understand there's a lot going on. There's nothing in the car to tell you your lights are working or they're not working. Is that correct?
On the toggle switch, there are a couple lights that there's
Sure.
total of three switches. The first one, would you like me to explain that?
I'm sorry?
Would you like me to explain the three switches?
No, what I'm trying to get a sense of is you tell us you turn your lights on and you don't know whether they were working or not. You just assume they were working because the car pulled into the cul-de-sac and pulled over. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And we have Officer Bajinas behind you. He doesn't have any lights. Is that correct?
I believe his vehicle is equipped with lights, but
Okay.
it's an undercover vehicle.
All right. So I'm talking about an overhead spinning red light.
Yes, it would have just been mine.
I'm sorry?
It would have just been mine.
Okay. But I'm talking about Officer Bajinas' vehicle. Does he have an overhead light on his unmarked?
No.
Okay. Does he have those ones that are implanted in the grill, if you know?
I don't know. It's not
That's
a car
fine.
I'm familiar with.
I understand. So you turn your lights on, you don't know whether they're working or not, but the car pulls over, so you assume they're working. Is that right?
Yes.
You get out of your car, is gun drawn, pointing at the truck at this point?
Yes.
And do you know what Officer Bajinas is doing behind you?
Yes.
What is he doing?
He was on his way to work.
I'm sorry. No, you're pulled over. And then Officer Bajinas is also pulled over behind you.
I understand. Again, he was on his way to work when this happened, so as he was actually putting his gear belt on,
Okay.
as he was standing outside the vehicle.
Okay. And are you aware, does he pull his gun?
At this point, I don't remember.
Okay. You asked the occupant of the vehicle to put the arms out. The arms come out, correct?
Yes.
And you're just sitting at this point waiting for backup. Is that right?
Yes.
At this point, you're not issuing commands, exit the truck, back up, or anything like that.
The only commands were to have the hands out.
Okay. So I have a vision of you behind your door, gun drawn, and that's two hands extending from the window of the truck. Is that accurate?
Yes.
How long do those hands, how long are they in that pose before they come back in?
I don't recall. Again, earlier I testified that it seemed like within a few minutes the next officer showed up, so maybe a few minutes.
All right, so while you're sitting there, you told us another officer showed up and parked at that T intersection that you showed us in the map, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when that officer, so you're waiting for that officer, he or she shows up, and while you're waiting, those hands are still out in the car, correct? Out of the truck, correct?
Yes.
And then once that officer got there, is that when the truck drove off?
I remember he arrived, and it was shortly after him exiting his vehicle that the hands were tucked in.
Okay. So the officer who pulled up at the T intersection there got out of his vehicle, and did he do the same thing you did? Did he stand behind the door with gun drawn?
I really don't remember at this point.
Okay. the first pit maneuver you made was after the truck left Mountain Gate Park. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you told us you were at 30 miles an hour when you made that maneuver, correct?
Yes.
So then is it safe for me to say that you basically caught up to the same speed as the truck before you made that maneuver?
Yes.
Okay. So is it safe for me to say that the truck was doing 30 miles per hour when you tried your first pit maneuver?
Approximately.
And then you talked about the second pit maneuver at 29 miles per hour, is that correct?
Yes.
And how is it that you know your speed? Is that one of the things you're taught, that you look at the speedometer and say, how fast I'm going before I do this maneuver?
It is something we should be aware of.
Okay.
Yes. The reason that I know that is at the time that this occurred, I reviewed the camera, and in the camera that's installed in the vehicle, and that had the estimated speed.
Okay, all right. So, because you wrote a very detailed report, and I'm guessing, did you review your in-car camera before writing your report?
Before and during, to help.
Sure. I mean, you're sitting there writing the report. You want to make sure you get things right, intersections and speeds, right?
Yes.
And so you're using the camera, and the camera said that you were doing 30 when you did this first maneuver. Is that how you got there?
Yes.
Okay. You told us the speed limit in these residential areas is 25. Do you know what the speed limit on Highgrove is?
I don't recall, but I believe it's 35 miles per hour in that general area.
All right. Did you see the truck rather, pick up speed on Highgrove, or did it stay at that 30 mile per hour speed as it was going through the residential areas?
For me, I believe that it had picked up speed.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. That's all.
Redirect, Mr. Beecham.
Yes.